Okay, welcome to the Quick Start Guide. First, let's go over the most important document. This is going to separate any referral agent from the rest. Nobody does a good job of qualifying the agents they send referrals to, and a consumer does even a worse job. So this is where you can step up and really show your value. This is just an 8-point little checklist to walk through to help you be far beyond what other people do. More than likely over time, you will add other things to this as you have more experiences with agents, but these will cover the most important ones. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so this agent checklist starts with some very obvious things. You want to get the agent's name. If you're speaking to them already, you want to get their license number from them. It's easier to have them provide it because even if you go online to the real estate license board, they could have multiple licenses. If they're a broker, they could have a name that's been changed, or they use a shorter name. Like I use Steve Bradley instead of Stephen T. Bradley. So people searching might not find it. And as a broker, I can actually be I can have concurrent licenses. So somebody searching for me might not find my right license number. So at some point, you're going to probably ask them for the license number. And since this is a checklist you're going to do while you're on the phone with them, I would ask them now because it'll allow you to do some follow-up further down. Obviously, confirm the license number is in the state that you need them helping you in, whether it's for the seller, buyer, whatever's going on. And then the rest is pretty much self-explanatory. Their brokerage name, broker, or what will be called a supervising broker is fine. Their name, contact information, and of course the agent's email and phone number as well. After you have a license number, not while you're on the phone with them, but after you have it, you're going to go to the real estate licensing board link, and that's one of the documents later. You'll look them up, and then you're going to verify that their license is active with that state. There's very often going to be a link where you can look for disciplinary actions or pending complaints. If there is, you're going to look for this, and then just fill in the date you verified it. This is important in case you put this away later in a file folder on your laptop or something, and you want to be able to kind of come back. Maybe you're looking in this state, and let's just say it's Georgia. You pull open your Georgia folder, and then you see this in there. You're like, oh, I really liked him, but he wasn't available at the time. You can see, okay, well, wow, it's been over a year. I should verify he's still got an active license, and anything else you verified prior, I would verify again. Experience level. This is really unique and it's important because, for example, if you were to contact me and say, what's your experience? First thing I'm going to tell you is, well, I've been licensed since 2002. That sounds great, but that's not really a good answer because it doesn't matter. I want the years active in real estate because that's kind of a good gauge for some things. But then you need to understand, like, when was their last transaction? What's their average closing per year? How many, do they do in a month? Because that tells you a lot, and I'll tell you why. So the average transaction for an active agent is really only 4 transactions a year, which isn't not that much, obviously. But there are plenty of agents doing much more than that. So you want to find an agent who's averaging anywhere to 8 to 12 deals a year is good. And it maybe sounds good to you, maybe it doesn't. But the reason it's good is that means they're doing at least a deal a year, a deal a month, almost. And with that comes all the challenges of managing a contract, managing the parties, the title companies, the lenders, the title attorneys, the real estate attorneys, depending on what state you're in, escrow, earnest money, just lender hiccups, appraisal problems. You want somebody that's been through all of that recently and who obviously knows the current version of the contract. I'm in Virginia, or Northern Virginia specifically, and our contract changes once a year, actually twice a year, but it's one major change a year. And then the second one is usually clerical things. But those changes always come about because of to protect the consumer and then to protect the realtor and the brokerage. So if there's a lot of lawsuits related to something, the people on the document board will think about, well, how can we help protect the consumer with this document better? It was apparently ambiguous before. So because of that, you want to make sure you're dealing with an active agent that's dealing with the most recent contract. Really, really important. The next thing that's important is if you're referring somebody that needs commercial, let's just imagine they're do something specific. They're going to buy a gas station. You might think you could call any agent. Maybe you don't know any better, and that would make sense if you've never been in real estate. But a residential real estate agent could easily make the mistake and say, yeah, I can help this commercial person buy a gas station. But the code of ethics and brokers alike will say this agent is a residential agent. If the brokerage doesn't have a commercial department and they don't have any experience working with purchasing gas stations or hotels or large industrial manufacturing complexes or large hotel buildings in the middle of New York City, then they won't allow their agents to do that. So you don't want to make the mistake and get some excited agent that sees they're going to be dealing with a $40 million potential property and they're like, yeah, I want to do it. So what they deal with regularly is very important. If they do land, again, if it's residential land, then they'll be looped in together here. If it's commercial land, then they'll be looped in with commercial here. Luxury or specific niche properties, properties for car guys, dog people, car girls, people with horses. There are some specific niches that you may decide to do, but most of the ones I just mentioned would fall right under residential. Okay. Brokerage information too, when you're on the licensing board with the links I give you, you want to make sure that the broker actually exists. Check and make sure their license is current. For the large brokerages, it's almost a non-issue. They're all over their licenses and making sure they're compliant, because if their license goes out, then all their other agents that are underneath them can't be working either, not with that brokerage at least. So when you look up an agent, very often there'll be a related licenses type of a tab or link with them. And that's usually going to click on it and it'll take you over to their brokerage information, their licensing, their details. But you want to verify, you want to get their license, make sure you have that information. For the agent that you're talking to, this is really, really important. You want to know their availability. And I'm going to actually skip down to the bottom second because this is more important to me. You want to know if they're part-time or full-time. Don't ever, no matter what happens, pick a part-time agent, please. Unless you just really, really know them. And you're like, I know how they work. And I've worked with them in the past. But the problem with part-time agents, or sometimes you'll hear themselves called dual career. That's what brokerages will train the agents to say. Well, I'm dual career. I'm a software engineer and I sell real estate. So I can talk to you anytime. But the reality is a part-time agent is seldom available during the work hours that everybody else is. And time is critical and very important with a real estate contract. So you do not want somebody that takes hours or a half a day or a day to respond. So I would definitely stay away from part-time agents. But you want to check how many current active clients that they have. I'm going to suggest you work with agents that are like kind of single one-off agents. At most, they have an admin and a transaction coordinator. I don't suggest you select people on teams, because my experience has been the training on teams is horrible. The communication can often break down or be relayed incorrectly. And when you're referring a client, you want them to be with that kind of sweet spot kind of real estate agent that's the one that's going to manage and communicate everything, right? So when it comes down to current and active clients, if they're actively working with anywhere up to 4 or 5, I think they're fine taking one more. It's getting close. At 4, it's not a problem. At 5, and they become number 6, and if they're one agent without an admin, that does start to take up some time. But you can gauge based on their response if that works. Find out, again, if they have an admin or not, and if they do, who communicates with the client and when. Sometimes the admin and a transaction coordinator is only in the background, right? They don't communicate with anybody. If that's a situation, then perfect. Confirm, again, we already said the part-time, full-time, we can pass that. Communication response. Yeah, you want to know what's their communication style? How quickly do they typically respond? Do they respond like maybe you have a client that works on a secured site and they can only really respond to texts like during lunch. So you want to know these things about your client or your lead. Technically not your client because you don't have a signed agreement with them. But so find out how they communicate, what their preferences is. Hopefully it's all three. They're like, well, whatever's good for the client, whatever they want to email, they want to text, they want a phone. I respond to all of them within an hour, right? And that's what you want as an average response time. Usually you'll see differences here. Like it'll say, if somebody phones, they'll hear from you either on that call or within an hour, text within 10, 15 minutes, email every 3 hours. Like I don't check my email every 5 minutes. It's unmanageable. And then agree to provide brief referral status updates. You are not there to manage the transaction. Even if you're referring your mother, brother, sister, or cousin, you are not there to call them and go, well, what's going on with this transaction related to the lender? I heard there's a problem. Matter of fact, you could lose your license for doing that because when you're a referral only agent, you're not allowed to be part of the active transaction. So if you try to put yourself in it, that other agent could report you and you would lose your license. So just stay away from that stuff. But you do want hey, just want to know is everything going okay? Maybe you still haven't gotten a contract or haven't sold a home and you just want to touch base, say, hey, are you still in contact with my lead? That's a very fair question because sometimes you'll find you'll refer somebody and then all of a sudden these two just aren't talking to each other anymore. And you don't want to just find out about that months later. So the big part of what you do is just a very gentle, soft follow-up with your lead and with the real estate agent. Market and transaction fit. Obviously, again, you want to make sure that the realtor is involved in the price point and in the area that your client or your lead needs help in. Okay. This part understands referral fee structure. You shouldn't run into anybody with any problems here, but the reason this is here is the referral fee is part of the total compensation and bonuses. And some agents will argue that, well, no, it's only part of the commission I earn after my split with my brokerage. No, it is if that agent earns, let's say, $10,000 and they had a 50-50 split with their brokerage, so they're only going to get $5,000, your referral percentage is off of the $10,000, not their $5,000. And that's where some agents that haven't done it before, like, well, no, but I only earned $5,000. I'm like, no, but the commission referral agreement, that percentage is off of the total commission earned by the brokerage, right? Everything goes to the brokerage, and then they pay everybody else out. So I want to keep that in check. Number 8 is one where you might do it and you might not. And if you don't, you're going to probably just put a little note here, not completed, off to the right side here. This is a public record check. For a lot of reasons, I think it's a good idea going on Google, searching a name, but then you got to make sure you know that name is the exact same person. That's not always so simple. And potentially you want somebody, the client or yourself, to just check and make sure they're not on sex registry. I find a lot of people want to skip this. Which is why there's a signature section that comes below, because if we leave this blank and then we come down here and you, the agent, sign here and the agent receiving signs here, right? Well, their name and signature here. Then a copy of this, if you approve them, for example, then you're going to send a copy of this to the client. So the client's going to see that everything you've checked off and all the answers that are on here have been reviewed by that same agent and been signed off. And they'll note that you have Section 8 over here as not completed, and then you'll suggest to them, I usually leave Section 8 for the lead to go ahead and check, because I don't want to take a chance that I may have either missed something or misinterpreted something. So I leave this here for you, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer Seller. So you're just reminded that if you want to do that, you might want to go ahead. All right. So that is the agent qualification checklist. Next, we're going to look at the broker referral agreement. The broker referral agreement, this is my version of it. If you join a brokerage, well, you'd have to join a brokerage to use your license. If they have their own referral document that they use, you have to use theirs. But they're all basically the same in their content, and I'll show you mine. It's fairly simple. Okay, first section is related to you, the agent. And you're just going to fill in your information. It's going to be what's the broker's name, what's the address of your broker, what's the office number, and what's the license number and state for your brokerage, and what is their EIN or tax ID number. All you have to do is ask them for it. They'll give it to you. You need this it has to be supplied to the other agent, because when you get paid, they need this because they're going to basically send a tax document to the brokerage later. Then you're just going to fill this information. For your broker, you're going to put the name and email, even though phone number's up here. If you can get a mobile, great, but the phone number up here is fine for the brokerage. And then for you, your name, your email, and absolutely your cell phone number here. Second section is just the other broker, the other agent. Same situation, except no EIN number is needed because you're not sending them money. So you'll fill the section out. You'll put their broker name, their broker email, the agent name that you're referring to, that agent's email, and their cell phone. If you can get a cell phone for a broker or managing supervisor, awesome. Here's where you make money, and I'll tell you why. The more complete this is and notes are, the more real estate referral fee you can negotiate from the other agent. This stuff's obvious. If you have multiple leads, like 3 of them that are part of it, put all 3 names here, so make sure to get those. That's really helpful for the agent that sometimes might forget, and then they get embarrassed, like, wait, who's the other person? But for email and mobile, you just need one main contact, so find out who that is and put that in there. Obviously, we need to know what kind of deal they're doing. They buyer, seller, tenant, landlord. And if they're selling a property, what's the address of the property? Or if they're buying, what's the area they're buying in? Urgency, this is important. You'll find that when you have people in the under 30 days, under 90 days, that in general, you can probably negotiate a little bit more because the agent's like, wow, this is going to happen soon. Okay, yeah, I'll pay you 35 instead of 30. Or maybe you have some notes down here and it's like the buyer's already pre-qualified with 2 lenders. They own 2 businesses. They are moving and want to be there before their son, daughter, cousin graduates college. They have proof of funds ready for any kind of deposit or any large deposit or cash purchase. So the more details you put into this section, the higher the probability is the agent will agree to pay a higher percentage, because they're like, wow, this is a really viable, awesome person. By the way, we'll come back to something later. So here's the referral fee. Here we go. It's just X percentage of the gross commission, meaning the commission as it arrives to the broker before any other splits internal, right? I would always just default at 30 here. You can delete this from your document if it's still here, right? But I always start at 30. If I really think I have a good lead, I'll put it up to 35, sometimes 40. But 35's about the highest I've seen that I can regularly kind of push somebody to get to, which is good. How you're supposed to be paid. So again, you cannot receive a check ever. And if you do, you'll lose your license and it's a big problem. Money always has to go to your brokerage. So this information is all related to your brokerage. So if your broker wants the information wired, you're going to put the payee name, the routing number, and the account number. But anytime it's a wire, you're going to want to ask your broker if they could give you, and it'll be the same one moving on, to give you a copy of their wiring instructions. And I would check wire, and I would write down here, wiring instructions attached. And you don't even have to fill the rest of this out. If it's going to be by a check, then you want to just make sure the name of the brokerage as they want it on the check appears here. Now, what you don't know is sometimes the other broker won't send a wire, but you've checked this and you've attached it. So I always still put in the payee information here, because if the other broker or whoever is sending the money won't wire, you at least want to make sure that check gets out. Everybody involved in this transaction must follow fair housing and non-discrimination. Everybody, no question about it. License and RESPA, everybody's got to keep their licenses active. If you send it to a licensee and they end up losing their license for any reason, or it expires, or they forget to do their continuing ed, that is not really a problem because your agreement is with the brokerage. So assuming the deal can still close and there's no other reason, you would still get paid. Confidentiality, I like to say this very simply. Never talk about people when you're talking about real estate. Avoid that topic completely. Don't talk about your clients. Don't talk about their clients. Don't talk about when you're trying to have a conversation about a transaction specifically or referring them. When you stay to talking about properties and what they're looking for, you help to keep yourself further away from any potential issues. You don't want to accidentally give away information like, oh, my clients are getting divorced, so they have to sell this house and buy two others. Leave your client to share that information if they choose to do so, but you should not. Termination, this agreement will be good for 3 years. That's what I have here. What I always suggest is you get into the habit, even after the transaction is done, of staying in contact with your past leads. I wouldn't contact them every day, once a week, even once every couple weeks, but maybe once every 3.5 or 4 weeks, just reminding them what you do, what you're there for, if they know anybody else that could benefit from your knowledge and the way that you work. Indemnification, every broker wants this, basically saying that everybody holds everybody non-accountable. Like, you can't come after me, we're all on our own. Miscellaneous, this is the entire agreement. The other part here is this governing law. This would change to be whatever state your brokerage is in. Electric e-sign, they are absolutely fine with these documents. And the brokers sign the document. Now, if your broker tells you, hey, you can go ahead and sign those documents, that is okay, then you can sign it. It's up to your broker, it's up to the state. If they say you can, you're good to go. No problems at all. Next, we're going to talk about the state licensing board links. All right, so here are the state by state licensing board links. When would you need this? Twice that I can think of. One, if you don't have your real estate license yet and you're like, okay, let me go find out what the requirements are. You'll come here, you'll click on your state, you'll read the requirements so you're educated. By the way, getting a real estate license is far, far too easy, so please don't stress about it. You'll be able to take the classes online. And the reason I say it's far, far too easy is there are so many real estate agents because everybody thinks it's easy, fast money. And I'm telling you, being a standard agent is stressful. I mean, very stressful. The things that go on and the things you're dealing with agents and individual people that have their own beliefs on how things are supposed to work while you're trying to manage the legal requirements of the contract. And it could be really, really tough. So first, you'll come here to find your real estate board so you understand what requirements might be needed. The second time and repeating times after that will be when you need to go qualify an agent in a different state or even in your state. Come here, click on the link, get to the website, and then look for the license lookup tool. Everyone has a license lookup tool. And then that way you can search for the agent and verify the information we talked about before. Okay. So if you happen to use this list and find that one of the links is not working, please, I'd love for you to let me know. But if that happens, all you have to do is go to your favorite search engine, type in the real estate licensing board for your state, for Delaware, for Indiana, for Alaska, and then you'll get the results almost immediately at the top. Okay, this is just a 3-page document. You're going to want to save it. They are clickable. I'm doing a video, so it won't let me do that now. But nice and simple. And the last document we're going to talk about is the licensing resources. Again, you can take your classes online. You can go physically to a brokerage. You'll see signs out all the time that'll say, take your real estate class here. You got to be careful. They think you are want to join them or potentially join a standard brokerage, and they're hoping by you coming to their location that you'll then decide you're going to join their brokerage. You do not want to accidentally join a standard brokerage. If you do, you now have to pay the local, state, national association fees. You now have to pay the MLS fees. You now have to pay the lockbox fees. You now have to pay whatever monthly fees they have. It is very expensive to maintain your license as a standard agent. You can't associate a referral only license with a standard brokerage. It is the same license, it is the same classes. That's the good thing. If you ever decided you do want to get into the crazy game of a full-time agent, you just literally have to move your license to a standard brokerage. So if you need help finding a brokerage, a referral one, I can help you do that. I have a referral brokerage in Virginia. I'll soon have one in Florida and North Carolina. And then probably within a few months after that, I will have them in most, if not all, of the 50 states. All right, so this document here shows you the links for the very popular, well-known online sites. The first three, Colibri, sorry, my trying to learn Spanish is on this. Colibri, the CE Shop, and Kaplan, all very well known. Mosley, the fourth one, is the one I use for Virginia and Florida. And I just love them. They're very simple to use. Continuing education costs are very low. So just, you can use this list, go check them out, look at competitive pricing. On average, I think the most expensive I've seen some of the real estate courses were in like the 350 or low 400 or high threes. But many of them were in the low twos. So check around, check out the prices. And I'm just glad you're thinking about this. It's an amazing opportunity that is just not talked about because it doesn't earn any money for the large corporations. None of the associations, the MLS, lockbox people, nobody. But this is exactly how Zillow makes most of their $2 billion every year, is through referral fees paid to them by realtors and brokerages. So hope to see you on Inside if you haven't already. Depending on where you're watching this video, make sure you head over to referifyhq.com. That'll take you over to my school community. It is free. Just click join. And once you're there, if you're not there already, then you'll be able to go to the classroom, locate the quick start guide, and you'll be able to download all this material.